Now, I have a pre-done proprietary system I use that includes questions and answers, a survey. Some of them can be pretty ridiculous. I'm going to ask some of those questions to you now, show you the process. And when I say ridiculous, I mean a lot of business owners are like, what does this have to do with my brand? And this is where I want to. You thought the rest was valuable? This is where the real value comes in. Your brand needs to be more than a nameless entity. Well, obviously you have a name, but it needs to be more than just a brick and mortar store or a website where people go. Your brand needs to be a character. It needs to be something that grows, develops, and interacts at a personal level with your customers, with your clients, with your guests, whatever it is. You need to identify that. And one of those things, and I went through the customers, clients, guests. One of those things you need to ask is, what do you call your customers? What do you call them? What words do you use? And now, what do you call your customers is just the start. So you call them clients. So what do you call your service? Let's say that you sell homes. Is your service just selling homes? Or maybe you've decided to get a little different. Maybe you're not just selling homes. Maybe you're selling futures, because these homes are your client's future. And maybe you've decided that the words you use, instead of let's set up a meeting, let's have a conference about this. Again, I'm spitballing here, so don't take this as any set strategy. In my business, I don't just set up a call. A consultation is what most people do, right? You set up a consultation. It sounds pretty boring. I set up a strategy session, which sounds like a lot more in depth, and frankly, it is, because I go through a lot of these questions that I've set up to ask and that are relevant to these businesses. Now, if we go through the words we use, what words you use, your language is going to be one of the most important part of your branding. If you're speaking to an audience that thinks impeccable grammar and spelling and that's essential to interactions, then you need to make sure that your branding is on top of that. And you need to make sure that your customer service team is on top of that. Alternatively, if your average customer is just high school educated and doesn't have a college education, you do not want to be using advanced jargon. And trust me, that's not saying anything negative about high school educated only people. I have a college degree that's worth about as much as the toilet paper in my bathroom. I don't use it at all. It is completely irrelevant to my business. However, certain things it is relevant to. I'm just not involved in those businesses. So if you are, make sure to bring that out. And that's another thing. Do you want to come off as authoritative? Or are you more laid back? Are you more of the social warrior? Or are you the zealot? Now, what's the difference between these two? The social warrior is usually a bit more reluctant, right? They're the person who's doing this just because someone has to do it. Maybe you found that all the barbecue joints in your area are not real quote-unquote barbecue joints. All the other barbecue joints cook Monday through Sunday. For you to really properly cook barbecue, you gotta use the slow cooker and you gotta take your time. We have to close Tuesday and Friday. We actually close, or maybe Monday and Thursday you close for a day just so you can make sure you cook the barbecue properly. Or I think usually they close 2 consecutive days. Anyways, I'm not running a barbecue joint, so forgive me if I don't know everything about the process. The point is, though, you're doing it only because, yeah, you stay at home, you used to cook barbecue all the time yourself, and everyone loved it, loved your barbecue. Now, the reason you started cooking barbecue is because you noticed all of these restaurants were just terrible. Terrible barbecue. You use fresh ingredients, and you really get your message out there by giving them slow cooked perfection. The meat just falls off the bones. And this is the kind of difference you want to make when you're sending out your message. Now, the zealot, on the other hand, is a lot more proactive. So the social warrior is reluctant. They're like, hey, I just used to cook on my own. I enjoy cooking, but I didn't want to make this a thing. Reason I'm doing it because I noticed there's nobody out there doing it right. The zealot, on the other hand, is the person who's like, hey, this is terrible. The whole industry sucks. And we have to change it now. And this is the person who makes a massive call for change. Now, in certain situations, one can be better than the other. Part of your competitive research is to figure out which one you fit your best. And here's the thing. Sometimes neither one of these is right. Sometimes you're just like, hey, there's plenty of barbecue joints out there, but what if I mixed a barbecue joint with a sports bar? There's none in my area that do this. What if every Sunday I have a special? Like, I don't know what you can afford to do all you can eat, but maybe you have an all you can eat from such and such time to such and such time. Or maybe during football season you have special $5 pitchers on something that's normally $7 or $8. Maybe you have a get free, like free hush puppies if you get our rib meal, unlimited hush puppies. So get our big rib meal, and for $20, and then you get unlimited hush puppies the rest of the time, plus $5 pitchers. Whatever it is, you're focused on sports. You have TVs that show football games, hockey games, basketball games, soccer games, whatever it is that your people love. Now, what I'd recommend, though, if you're doing that and you really want to stand out, have the TVs focus on one type of athletic event. Now, I know I'm favoring restaurants here, and as some of you know, that's because I work very closely with a lot of restaurants. That's been a major focus of me right now. However, you can do this with any business you can think of. Let's say you're selling a health supplement online, and you figure out that these people using supplement XYZ for muscle definition, they would be ideal customers, because what your supplement is for muscle growth, right? So you actually help people build muscle. This other supplement helps define muscle. So you go and you actually look at those indirect competitors, mind you. You figure out what they're doing, and you build a complementary thing. Now, maybe you're a down-to-earth guy. Maybe you see all the other exercise things with six-packs and eight-packs and giant chests and big, broad shoulders, and you're like, hey, that's great. We're going to help you get that way. But here's how we started out. We started out as nobody. And I know a lot of people do this now, so it's not going to work. But there's a reason that this it's not going to work as well, rather. There's a reason that this took off is because people can relate. You want to be able to relate to your audience. But maybe instead of starting out as, hey, I was fat and overweight, maybe your story is you were not fat and overweight. Maybe your story is that you were skinny. And again, this will only work if it's true, but maybe you were skinny and wanted to gain weight, right? And nothing you could do, no workout program you tried worked. All of a sudden, you use your supplement and it worked. You got to come up with a story here, and I know at this point some of you are realizing how valuable this process is. Others of you might be like, okay, Joseph, where are you going with this? You're going in circles. You're just building all these random questions. It's because branding really is this important. It's because branding really does take this kind of thought process. If you're not going through this creative back and forth, moving forward type thing, you are not branding properly. You need to really work on branding yourself, making yourself different. You need to look for every unique opportunity you have to stand out from the crowd. You need to do your best to make sure you cover every base. What you need to do is you need to do two things. First, you need to have your audience, and you need to identify what does he or she look like. How old is he or she? What are his or her hobbies or interests? What books? What movies? What sports? What sports team? You need to go into detail on your ideal person. No, you're not going to just attract people who are exactly like this. But if you don't have a clear idea, this is what some people call a customer avatar. If you don't have a clear idea of what yours looks like, then you are not going to be on the right track. Now, by identifying this customer avatar, what you're able to do is you are able to hone in your brand message. And I said you need two things, remember? The second thing you need is you need your company avatar. And your company avatar is your brand. This is what you're going to do to really show people how you stand out from the crowd. Your brand cannot be under stress. Like, your brand is everything in your business. And there's reasons that people like Steve Forbes and Jeff Bezos talk about their brand so much. They talk about branding because it matters. And there's a reason I do this. I used to make money doing more than just branding. I used to do all sorts of digital marketing. I was your utility man of marketing. And the reality is, a couple years ago, I really took a hard look at what I was doing. I'm like, okay, what is getting my clients the best results? What is getting me the best results? And the thing that I found is that these social branding activities are what works. Now, your company avatar needs to be like your client avatar. You need to nail it down. And this is an absolute. Now, like a real person, it changes over time. But it's an absolute in that you never deviate completely from yourself. So, for instance, you build a profile for your business, whether it's a person, an animal, or some strange mascot, whatever it is, you have to have a face on your brand. I favor person more than anything else, but sometimes a mascot, some sort of animal, can be valuable. It all depends on what you're doing. Again, for me, I favor person, so let's consider them being a person. Who are you as a person? Now, the age is the one thing that's going to constantly change. But you put your current age. Say you're 35 right now. Gender. Are you male, female, or something else? Put in your gender. Then you go ahead and you identify, okay, what are your points of interest? Are you interested in great food? You're interested in books, specifically fantasy, but not interested in romance novels. This is what I mean by consistency. So, let's say that part of your motif is maybe you enjoy fantasy books, right? And so you actually go about that, and then you have a customer come in, and they say, oh, I read some fantasy, but really what I like is romance. You do not deviate from your brand. You do not pander to that person. You say, romance. Yeah, I never got into romance. We're all about actual reading here. Again, if you do this right, you do not have to worry about scaring that person away. Obviously, you have to measure the client, the customer. You have to measure their tone, how they're presenting themselves. If you think they're going to get offended by that, then be more tactful. But for me personally, I'm totally okay with being a little bit sarcastic with them. You'll see it in companies like Wendy's, who's absolutely killing it with their social branding, that they are not at all afraid to get snarky or sarcastic with their customer base. So I'm not encouraging you to if it's not appropriate, but remember, do what works for you. If you really don't like romance novels and one of your customers tries to tell you how great a romance novel is, you can do one or two things. If it's more appropriate for your brand, be like, I never really got into romance novels, but I know my wife likes them, so maybe I'll tell her about it. Or you can do what I would do and be like, romance novels. No, I actually like reading books of substance. Again, it all depends on the situation. It all depends on your brand. You have to decide, are you serious? Are you tactful? Are you a little bit edgy? Are you sarcastic? Are you laid back? Or are you serious? I already put. Or are you on edge? There's so many different things that you can be as a brand, and you got to identify them. So ask yourself, what's my favorite movie? What's my favorite sport? Favorite outdoor activity? Do I even like outdoor? TV show? Do I like the outdoors? What do I wear? What don't I wear? And you got to actually go through this process and brand yourself fully and completely. If you have questions on specifics of this, go ahead. Again, leave a comment below or send me an email. I know this video is going long, and I'm ready for those comments where you're like, well, I don't get this. Why is this relevant? I'm sure some of you trolls out there are going to come up with some creative ways to attack this. But if you're in business and you are not using a process similar to this, if you are not looking at yourself, if you're not looking at your audience, if you're not going through these steps to really identify, you are going to miss out on results and you are going to fall behind in business. It might seem ridiculous, some of this stuff. It might seem completely unnecessary, but I cannot stress how important this is, how much of a difference this makes in my clients' businesses, how much of a difference it has made in my business. Once you make this stuff clear, you can really get the leg up on the competition. Your brand is what other people say when you think about you when you're not in the room. That's one of the quotes from Jeff Bezos, who's the CEO of Amazon, one of the wealthiest people on earth. And that, I think, summarizes what a brand is more than anything else. You need them to think of you in a way that's going to actually benefit your business, that's going to move you forward. You should already have an idea. Just by watching these videos, you should be able to start pulling some of these qualities from me on what I like and what I don't like and different things. I have this whole strategy written out. Again, I use a set template that I have that uses my proprietary system, but these are in an essence, in a nutshell, this is what I ask, and this is what you have to ask. Just move forward from here. Just ask the questions, build the character, look at the audience. Then from there, you need to identify. Another thing you need to do you have a logo? If you don't have a logo, what logo would work for this brand you've built? What color scheme would work? Here we use gold and black as our two colors. You'll notice that on the website. You'll notice that in most of the graphics we use. As far as branded graphics, obviously if we have pictures on our blog, they don't need to be gold and black. But you'll notice that that's our main thing. And you have to come up with a consistent color scheme. You have to come up with a consistent logo. You have to come up with a slogan. You have to come up with a mission statement. But the way to do this is to use all that research that we pulled from earlier, and it's to answer these questions. I have gotten way over time here, and if you've stuck with me this whole time, though, I hope you have gotten some tremendous ideas to grow your business. If you haven't stuck with me, then I guess you're missing out. Again, leave a comment below. Send me an email what you want some more of. As I said, this could take me an hour. Realistically, this could take me hours to go through the process because that's how long this process takes on our end. Usually when we work with customers, because of our questionnaire built out, because of the nature of our follow-up questions, it usually doesn't take more than half an hour. But on my end, we spend hours, quite literally, going through these questions, fleshing out into detail what this person is, what they stand for, what their brand is about. And if you're not doing that, you don't need to hire someone. Look, I'm here to be hired. You can hire my company, but you don't need to. You can do this yourself. You can ask these questions yourself. You can brainstorm this with your team. You can get this done. And this is the information that I'm giving you to help you get started. Let me know how I can help you further on your journey. Until next week, keep up the good work.